Oh my gosh, this is terrifying. This school bus crash happened in February in Albuquerque. Police are just now releasing that video. Two of the children were hurt so badly they required surgery. This video might have you wondering why school buses do not have seat belts. I have often wondered this. In fact, seat belts are required on buses in 8 states, but not New Mexico and not here in Illinois either. Whether buses should have seatbelts is a long-standing controversy. I'm joined now by Michael Brooks, the acting executive director of the Center for Auto Safety in Washington, D.C. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, the first question, the obvious question, why? Why don't school buses have safety belts?
It's mainly due to the fact that states haven't enacted laws to require them, and also attempts on the federal level to require all states to have seatbelts on school buses have not been successful.
I mean, couldn't, manufacturers just put them in?
They could just put them in. The issue that I think we run into most in this area is the cost, and the local school districts being unwilling to absorb new costs. And also there are some concerns about student behavior and drivers of school buses having to monitor seatbelt use and other things like that.
How common are school bus injuries or crashes?
Crashes, they're actually fairly rare. One of the issues we see in this area, though, is that it's hard to find injury data. We typically know how many fatalities occur in school bus crashes every year, but we're kind of unaware of the injuries. And in this crash, we saw 9 injuries and the bus driver injured, so 9 children and 2 severely injured. And those are the types of injuries that don't make it into federal data, and that we'd like to see part of the discussion.
Why doesn't that happen? Why isn't it compiled better?
Well, most of the federal data is based on crashes where there's a fatality. And so if there's a crash and no one dies, it doesn't make it into the fatality analysis reporting system, which underlies a lot of the federal crash reporting. So we're missing some crashes here, for instance, where there's a rollover, where seatbelts could have been very helpful in preventing some of these injuries.
So let's talk about, is it realistic to put seatbelts on school buses? Because how do you enforce it? You can't, bus drivers don't have the time to get up after every kid gets on to make sure that they're buckled in and to stay buckled in.
Right, and I think that's one of the primary objections, and I think we can solve that by technology that we already have that's inexpensive. We already have seatbelt buckle reminders on our cars, and why not extend that type of protection to the children on school buses in addition to cars? So the driver could be aware which children aren't buckled, and there could be a way to enforce buckling. I mean, there are a lot of little rules we have to follow in school, like standing in line, etc. Wearing seat belts is something I'm sure most parents would be supportive of.
Lastly, what do you recommend for parents who maybe are passionate about this?
I think that the contacting their local school district and letting them know, much of the opposition to school buses having seatbelts hasn't come from the manufacturers or the typical people who object to safety upgrades. It's actually come from local school districts who either don't believe they have the money or want to redirect the money somewhere else, and want to avoid the expense.
Okay, well, Michael Brooks, the acting executive director of the Center for Auto Safety in DC, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Important conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.